Declare the Liverpool City Council meeting for the 26th of July officially open, and welcome everybody here joining us today. I'd like to remind everyone that in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice, other than the public forum section, this meeting is being live streamed. Now, to start off today's proceedings, I would like to invite Reverend Michael Smith from St. Therese Catholic Parish, who will read the prayer of council and the acknowledgement of country. Reverend, if I could please invite you up to the lectern there, and could I also invite everyone to please stand and stay standing for the national anthem, which will be followed directly afterwards.
We meet, and their ancestors past and present. The Cabrogal clan of the Darug Nation. I also acknowledge that this land was accessed by peoples of the Dharawal and Darug nations. We affirm our hope and dedication to the good government of our city and the well-being of all Liverpool's residents, no matter their race or creed. Today, we affirm our hope for sound decision-making by Council, which will improve the quality of life in our city. We express our expectations and best wishes for Australia, our nation's future, the Mayor, councillors and staff of Council, and all those associated with good government in Liverpool. The author of the biblical letter of St. James writes, "You must understand this, my friends. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness." Almighty God, we gather in a spirit of gratitude for the many gifts in our city, especially the people. May our civic leaders gathered here recognise and encourage the great efforts of so many. May they work together to enable citizens to fulfil their aspirations, develop individual, family and group potential, and hence contribute to the building up of our communities and city. May they support those who are struggling or new to our area by lessening anxieties wherever possible and providing new or renewed opportunities. Notwithstanding their different perspectives, may they conduct council business in a spirit of mutual respect and shared commitment to the common good. May their service be humble, relevant, generous and honest. May they inspire unity in the diversity of interests in our city by the way they manage diversity among themselves. May they receive encouragement for their efforts and find creative balance between public service, professional demands, and personal and family needs. May their efforts enable substantial benefits for Liverpool and the southwest of Sydney. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by those who've come across the seas with boundless plains to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. And thank you very much, Reverend, for your praise and your kind words for us all here. Next is our councils attending remotely. We have Councillor Carneeb, who is on remotely, and I know Councillor Goodman is trying to log on as well. Move that they be allowed to be attend remotely. Second, Councillor McNaught. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Do we have any apologies? No apologies. We'll now move on to condolence motions, which unfortunately we have two of today. The first one is regarding Mr. Raleigh Rasic. Today we pay tribute to a remarkable individual that left an indelible mark on our community and the world of football. The late Raleigh Rasic was a legendary figure in the world of sport, and his contributions have forever shaped the landscape of football in Australia. Born in an orphanage in the former Yugoslavia, Raleigh Rasic immigrated to Australia in the early 1960s, bringing with him a wealth of knowledge and experience in football. He enjoyed imminent success, so much so that he was appointed coach of the national team by 1970. In 1974, he led the Socceroos to the first ever appearance in the FIFA World Cup. This historic achievement put Australia on the global football map and was not repeated until 2006. Raleigh was not just a coach. He was a visionary, a mentor, and a source of inspiration for generations of football enthusiasts. Through his coaching prowess and unwavering dedication, Raleigh Rasic not only impacted the lives of his players, but also shaped the destiny of the sport in Australia. Raleigh Rasic's contributions extended far beyond the football field. He was a tireless advocate for multiculturalism and social cohesion, using the beautiful game to unite people from diverse backgrounds. Raleigh embodied the spirit of Liverpool as a vibrant and multicultural community. Mr. Rasic was inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame in 1989, and in 2001 he was awarded the Australian Sports Medal and the Centenary Medal for services to soccer. In 2004, he received the Medal of Order of Australia. His legacy lives on through the countless players who have gone on to achieve greatness and make a positive impact in the world of football. Today, as we mourn the loss of Raleigh Rasic, let us also celebrate the incredible legacy he has left behind. His vision, leadership, and unwavering commitment to the game will continue to inspire generations to come. It is our duty to ensure that these contributions are never forgotten. May he rest in peace. The other condolence motion we have is for Dr. Tony Mosca. Today we pause to honor the memory of Dr. Tony Mosca, who passed away on the 15th of July, 2023. Tony was a long-time local resident and dentist in Liverpool. He was loved and respected by the local community. Born in Calabria, Italy in 1952 and migrated to Australia with his parents, he attended schooling in Australia and enrolled in the prestigious University of Sydney in 1970, and in 1975 he graduated with a Bachelor of Dentistry. Tony's entrepreneurial spirit led him to open the doors of Liverpool Dental Centre on Memorial Avenue in 1979, and he was fondly known as the Boss. Tony was also known for his kind and gentle nature. In 2019, he hung up his white coat after 40 years of serving the Liverpool community. We were lucky to have him in our community. Tony leaves behind his wife Maria and his children Marco, Robert, and Lisa, and their partners, his grandchildren, and a bereaved extended family. I humbly express my deepest condolences to Dr. Mosca's family, colleagues, and friends. Our thoughts and prayers are with his loved ones during this difficult time. May he rest in peace. I move that the condolence motions be accepted and we hold a minute of silence. Secondly, Councillor Rhodes. All in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Could I please ask everyone to observe a minute of silence? Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. We'll now move on to the confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 28th of June 2023. Moved Councillor Rhodes, seconded Councillor Green. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? And declare it carried. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one. Conf 06, non-pecuniary RMB president of an organization has an issue with the council. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, me too. I have a conflict with Conf 6. Non-pecuniary, non-significant, but I'll be leaving the room as well.
And just your mayoral minute, which has come to my attention. I have an association with one of the clubs mentioned, non-pecuniary, non-significant. I'll stay in the room.
Lovely. Mr.
Mayor,
Portelli?
yes, I have one in regard to Book 3, the legal report with the outstanding legal matters. I have it's non-pecuniary and less than significant interest.
Can everyone hear okay? Yeah.
A further declaration of interest in your mayoral minute, same reason as previously, you have an association with one of the clubs, non-significant, non-pecuniary, so I'll stay in the room.
Great. Can we just make sure the paperwork gets handed out? Yeah. We'll talk Google through it, maybe. Might. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll now move into the public forum minutes, of which there are two. The first one is regarding Liverpool Olympic FC and Liverpool Rangers FC. Soccer is an integral part of the sporting landscape in southwest Sydney, particularly in Liverpool. The region has been a hotbed for football talent, producing numerous Socceroos who have represented Australia on the international stage. That is why, with great excitement today, that I extend my congratulations to two local clubs who recently celebrated milestone anniversaries. Liverpool Olympic Football Club was first formed in 1982 with a vision to unite the local community through the beautiful game. Initially, the club played at Liverpool Boys High School before finding a home at Phillips Park in Lernia. In 1990, the club moved to its current location at Hoxton Park Reserve, where they have flourished ever since. The club's rich Greek heritage has been an integral part of its identity, contributing to its vibrant spirit and strong sense of community. Over the past 4 decades, Liverpool Olympic has nurtured talent, fostered sportsmanship, and provided countless opportunities for players to both grow on and off the field. On behalf of Liverpool City Council, I extend a heartfelt congratulations to Liverpool Olympic FC on celebrating their 40th anniversary. I would also like to acknowledge and congratulate the Liverpool Rangers Football Club on the momentous occasion of their 60th anniversary. This milestone is a testament to the club's enduring legacy, commitment to grassroots football, and contributions to our community. Established in 1963, Liverpool Rangers holds the esteemed distinction of being one of the oldest clubs in the Southern Districts Football Association. Situated at Ireland Park, just 2.5 kilometres from the heart of Liverpool city centre, the club boasts 3 full-size fields, 1 mod field and 1 mini field. The club's colours of royal blue and white pay homage to the esteemed Glasgow Rangers Football Club, a symbol of pride and inspiration. Liverpool Rangers has been a beacon of grassroots football, providing male and female players of all ages with the opportunity to participate and grow in the sport they love. In 2022, the club achieved a record number of junior female teams and proudly fielded 3 senior female teams for the first time in its history, highlighting their commitment to gender equality in sport. On behalf of Liverpool City Council, I wish Liverpool Rangers FC a joyous 60th anniversary celebration and continued success in the years to come. I extend my warmest congratulations to the players, coaches, officials, and dedicated supporters of both clubs on reaching these extraordinary milestones. The rich history and ongoing contributions of both clubs to our community make us all immensely proud. The dedication and contribution of Liverpool FC and Liverpool Olympic FC and Liverpool Rangers FC to the sporting landscape of our city are truly commendable, and these milestones are a testament to the unwavering commitment to soccer and community building. I'd like to move that the minute be accepted. All those in favour, against, declare it carried. Next, we have the 2023 Australia Day and King's Birthday Honours. The Australia Day and King's Birthday Honours recognise and celebrates those who make a difference, those who achieve their best, and those who serve others. On behalf of Liverpool City Council, I'd like to extend congratulations to the following members of our community who were honoured in the 2023 Australia Day and King's Birthday Honours. They include Mr. Phil Coleman, OAM, a director of the Liverpool Catholic Club, awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia on Australia Day for service to the community through the Catholic Church and to the club history. Secondly, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher John Holcroft, RFD, retired, OAM, of Hammondville, who was awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia on Australia Day for service to youth and the community through Scouts Australia, the Australian Army Reserve, and Australian Cadets. Mr. Robert Grimson, OAM of Lernia, awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia on the King's birthday for service to the community through a range of roles at Lions International, City of Liverpool Lions Club, Liverpool Hospital, and other volunteer organisations. Mrs. Ruth Grimson, OAM of Lernia, awarded the Medal of Order of Australia on the King's birthday for service to the community through a range of roles at Lions International, City of Liverpool Lions Club, Liverpool Hospital, and other volunteer organisations. And lastly, Mr. Vinod Daniel, OAM of Watergrove, awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia on the King's birthday for service to conservation and the environment during his role as Chairman of Oz Heritage, Head of Cultural Heritage and Science Initiative Branch at the Australian Museum, and other executive roles at the Australian Museum and International Council of Museums. And I'd like to move that Council receive this and congratulate those recipients on these wonderful honours. I'll put that. All those in favour, against, I declare it carried. The urgent business MOU 01 will, as that's a confidential item, we'll deal with that at the end of the meeting. We'll move on to Plan 01, which is page 42, tab 1, with the recommendation on page 43 of the booklet.
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Harrell.
I have some questions, but I'll second it after the question.
Seconded Councillor Rhodes. Councillor, would you like to speak for your motion?
I think it's all evident. I would like to congratulate Vicky, the Speaker, on what she had to say. And I'd also like to congratulate Council staff for an excellent report. I think this has been going on for a long time. I remember as a councillor in my first term in 2009, we've come a long way since then. You may remember, some of you may remember, there was a move to sell part of the land surrounding Collingwood House, and we as councillors made sure that that didn't occur. And so, as I say, we've come a long way. It's a great place, and it will certainly put Liverpool on the map. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The questions that I have concerns about is that Collingwood House sits within a precinct which is called the Collingwood Visitation Precinct. And I'm a little bit concerned that we need to look at it as a precinct, and any activation of Collingwood House has to be seen in context for the entire visitation precinct. Although I don't have any objections to the activation itself, and therefore can second the motion for it to go out for consideration from the community, I am concerned that we are going to do a piecemeal master plan of this particular precinct, and I would suggest that the considerations that come back from the community consultation are considered in the entire master plan for the visitation precinct. So if we could just add another point to that particular motion,
Yep. What's your point, Councillor?
would be that the activation plan of Collingwood House to be considered in the master plan for the entire visitation precinct, so that we maximise the potential visitation economy for Liverpool. I note within the entire...
Sorry, just one moment. Councillor Harrell, are you happy with that to be added to your... No? Sorry, can you put your microphone on? Sorry.
Sorry, I believe that what is there is good enough. When we have the community consultation, we can look at it then.
Oh. Sorry, just one. So we'll now have to deal with that as an amendment. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes.
So I'll move that as an amendment. Are you wanting to second the amendment?
No, I'll second the motion if Councillor Rhodes would like to.
Councillor Rhodes, are you still happy to have your seconder for the original motion?
If Councillor Hull is not willing to accept it, I believe that I know a lot about this particular topic.
I don't see a reason why you need to withdraw your seconding, because all you're doing is adding a point.
Yes.
You know, you're amending it. So I don't think there's a need for another seconder, Councillor Calienda. But thank you anyway.
Happy to take it on board.
You happy to adopt it? Okay, so there's no need for an amendment. If we can have that adopted then as a point 4. Okay, great. Did you have a question, Councillor Calienda?
Yes, just on what the time frame is for the overall visitation plan that Councillor Rhodes has referred to.
I refer that to the CEO.
Thank you. I'll refer that to. Sorry, I'll refer that to the director, Tina Mono, and if more needs to be added, we will go to the heritage officer, Thomas Wheeler.
Thank you. Through the CEO, the Collingwood Precinct Master Plan is currently under community consultation as we speak. We will wrap this in as well with the consultation on this particular component, and then bring back the findings to one of the governance meetings, which would likely now be the September one, given we've got this additional scope.
Sorry, you're saying that the strategy for the entire visitation precinct is currently on...
Yeah, just
right.
The visionary component of it. So we're seeking consultation so that we can wrap it up into a final master plan. So this is the initial consultation with the community, so it's not the final, it's just the preliminary one.
No, just in terms of that kind of articulation from this master plan going into the visitation plan. Yeah. So will that affect the timeframes within the master plan at all?
Not particularly. It's slightly out of scope, but it's still within the synergy of what we're trying to achieve there, which is a full activated site with lots of different mechanisms to make it work. So this will just inform some of that as well.
Great.
One correction. I think I seconded the motion, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Lovely. All right, there be no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against, I declare it carried. Unanimous.
Sorry, Mayor. Do we need all councillors to have their camera on that are in remotely?
Yeah, Councillor Goodman. Well, he's if his vote to be counted, he needs a camera on.
Yep, his camera's on now.
Right. Next one is Plan 02, page 51.
I have a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, tab 2, recommendation on page 1. Yes, Councillor
The
Deputy Mayor.
motion is simple as that. Council does not prepare a planning proposal to amend the Liverpool Local Government Plan 2008. Thank you.
Does not. Do you have a seconder for that? Seconded, Councillor Harrell.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that we should defer the decision on this particular item and should go into greater consultation, obviously with the Scout Hall, to find out exactly all the moving parts and before we make a decision on this. So I'd like to put that up as a motion.
Yep.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I don't agree with that for simple reason because we have a lot of discussion in the past in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do you have a seconder for your deferral, Councillor Rhodes?
I have a question.
Just a moment. Thank you. Let's get a seconder first.
You might need to turn yours off.
Could we defer it to the Governance Committee?
Happy with that?
And if it's to the Governance Committee, I'm happy to second it.
Defer to government's committee.
Yep. So, yeah, I think just a general deferral is, so you're saying defer it for greater consultation with Scouts?
Yes, allow that consultation to happen with the Scouts. We've got two conflicting reports. Let's do this right, okay? And through consultation, get to the bottom of it and bring back a report that equates that situation.
Yep. Now, I understand the reasons why. So that would become that would then be a foreshadowed motion.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think it's referred to the Governance Committee and for further discussion with the landowners.
But I had one before you.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Haggerty.
Yeah, so if I understand the situation correctly, we understood there may be some historical significance to this building. We went out, did a heritage study. It said there is. Scouts have gone and done one and said there isn't. And we've had a look, and then the experts, well, we're being told that it is. And now we're saying we want a few more months to talk about it. I think the evidence is here before us. Make a decision. We've been elected to lead. Make a decision. Might make some people happy, might make some people unhappy. I think we've seen enough here. We should make a decision.
I agree with you, Councillor.
My question is around sort of how much Scouts have been engaged and what their response has been so far in the process. So if we're hearing correctly, we've obviously got two conflicting assessments of the historical value or the heritage value of these particular sites. Are we to understand that the engagement from Scouts has been very minimal, or there is an unwillingness to engage beyond the commissioning of their independent heritage assessment?
Well, I'll refer to the CEO. I guess can we get some clarification on what consultation has happened with the Scouts?
Yes, certainly. I'll ask the Heritage Officer, Thomas Wheeler, to answer that, and we've also got the Director of Planning and Compliance who's also available.
Thank you, CEO. To your question, this has been going on for a little bit over a year and a half, and there has been periods of communication and consultation between both groups. In terms of the heritage reports, look, you can get 10 heritage consultants in a room together and they're not all going to agree. They've all got different interpretations, all got different analyses, and that's just the way it's going to happen. The big thing to remember is we're looking at something at the local level, so it's local significance, not its state significance or how it relates to stuff around the state. And that's what we're trying to bring it back to.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up, in terms of the willingness of, say, Scouts to come and engage with the process, has there been that willingness to engage beyond the heritage assessment?
Through the CEO, please, Councillor.
Again, to the Heritage Officer.
Through the CEO, to be honest, we have, and Strategic have kept documentation of that. We have contacted them by various emails and we haven't been receiving responses. When we have been receiving responses, it's usually at the last minute. And that's why originally 12 months ago we deferred it from when we were going to list 122 Atkinson Street and 124 Moore Street. We deferred it from that process because the submission that we got initially from Scouts was pretty much at that last minute. And so to give it the proper time, we decided to defer it and give time for a more detailed consideration. This report came through, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was in end of May, early June was when we finally got it, and we assessed it from there. But yeah, sorry.
Director of Planning and Compliance.
Thank you. Through the CEO. We have had one structured meeting with them, and that was to explain that we would defer the matter to allow them more time to compile their heritage assessment. And subsequent to that, we've had multiple emails and phone calls. And we also reiterated to them that there would be further consultation as part of the planning proposal process should this draft be endorsed by the council.
Councillor Rhodes?
Yes. Can I speak to the foreshadowed motion?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think that it is very, very relevant that we understand that we're talking about the local significance to our historical value of this particular item. We have to make sure that we understand. You know, there's been a lot of things that have been raised in this further report from the Scouts Committee. We need time to analyse that. Let's find out the truth about the state of the building, if there is anything that would deter us from having to spend extra money on saving this heritage item. We need to know all the facts. And without knowing all the facts, councillors really cannot...
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor, what's your point of order?
Is Councillor Rhodes speaking to her amendment?
I'm speaking to...
She's speaking to her... she's speaking to her for sure, Mashal. But what's your point of order?
Just whether she's speaking to amendment or does the mover get a right of reply?
Yeah, she's speaking for a foreshadow motion. There's no point of order there, Councillor.
Okay, sorry.
Councillor Rhodes, please continue.
Yes, so it is important that we understand. We know that what the council is telling us and is being reported to us. We have another report from the Scouts. It is only understandable that we take our time to consider the facts that have been contained within these documents and make an informed educated consideration of the matter. That's why I feel that this matter should be deferred. I agree with Councillor Green that it should go to the Governance Committee where we can have an open and frank discussion about it.
Yep. Is there any speakers for or against the motion as moved by the Deputy Mayor?
I just have a question in terms of the procedure. From what I can gather, the motion that's before us intends not to proceed with the planning proposal. I think that's pretty clear. But in terms of the interim heritage order, do we, in terms of process, do we need to do something to remove that, or does it lapse? If council's will is to not proceed with the planning proposal, do we want to do something with the interim heritage order? I just wanted to clear.
I'll refer the CEO to go through the process.
Thank you. I'll ask the Director for Planning and Compliance, and if necessary, we have the Heritage Officer here.
Through the CEO, I'll pass on to Thomas, the Heritage Officer, to advise on any procedural requirements associated with the interim heritage order.
Essentially, at the moment, the IHO remains in place until there is a formal resolution of council. So if council resolves today to defer it, then the IHO remains in place. If council resolves today to not proceed with the planning proposal, then the IHO is lifted. It's probably to do that as an additional motion, just so it's all documented. But apart from that, we don't have to do much except for writing to Scouts to advise them, because Heritage keep taking it off their website anyway.
So then, Deputy Mayor, then would you like to add a third point to your motion just to clarify that that the interim heritage order be lifted off the site?
He has to.
All right, is the seconder happy with that? Okay, can we just add that as a point 3, please? Are there any other speakers for or against the motion moved by the Deputy Mayor? Councillor Harrell?
Moved by the Deputy Mayor. Yes, I'd like to speak for the motion on the basis that we heard speakers say that the Scouts Association has been trying to hire the hall for the last 15 years. They haven't been successful. Nobody's going to hire that hall. It's dilapidated, falling apart, has some safety issues, and if we do in fact let this be a heritage item, who's going to pay for the upkeep and the maintenance of it? What are you going to use it for? You know, nobody hasn't wanted to use it for the last 15 years. They're not likely to want to use it now. Even if you spend a lot of money doing it up, as was said, the foundations have some issues, that is going to cost a lot of money. You can't expect the owners of that property to do that for the sake of heritage. It's a different story if this were something of significance like Collingwood House or any one of those that are outstanding items. But this is not. This is just a hall that's fallen into disrepute and nobody is going to use it. You are better off letting the owners have that, sell it and put something there that is of benefit to the community. This has no benefit to the community at all. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Harrell, I just have to clarify your point regarding whether of significance. We have a report table to us from council staff saying it is of local significance. So that we just can't just...
And with all due respect, as the Heritage Officer said, it is open to debate. As he said, you can get a number of experts in a room and they'll have a different opinion. And this is exactly what it is. We all have a different opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Harrell.
Can I ask, I guess it's a question. For clarity, this is a building that's owned by Scouts and has been vacant as such for 15 years. And when we look back at, there's a draft heritage study that was presented to Council in 2016 and this property was not identified in that draft assessment. I guess I'm asking for future, and I agree with Councillor Hull, there is a wide interpretation of what is significant and what is important, whether we could have some briefing on what is significant at a local level. There's plenty of evidence to suggest what's significant at a state level, but when we throw in a local significance, it's difficult to quantify for us what that means. And this is for a briefing session, if we could put that on the agenda somewhere to understand those concepts, please.
Yeah, great. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, thank you very much.
Did you have a question or do you want to just mindful you've spoken? I
I will speak in regards to the first motion, which I believe we were up to.
You kind of already did, so I can just ask you to hold on for a moment before you get there. Right? I just want to ask a question to the CEO. Based upon the information before us that the building has been vacant for 15 years, let's say somebody now wanted to lease the building for a use that's permitted within it. Are there any more existing use rights? And if not, will they need a DA? And if they do need a DA, how would that then go for BCA? Does it need to be upgraded? Because I think that was mentioned about the challenges that exist within the building.
Before I hand over to the Director of Planning and Compliance, I think the evidence is fairly clear, in particular from what's been said tonight, that a very substantial amount of money would need to be spent from a safety perspective. So clearly prior to council approving any DA, it would need to ensure that that is well and truly dealt with. As far as the specific requirements, compliance, DA, usage, etc., I'll hand over to the Director of Planning and Compliance.
Thank you for the CEO. While there are some specialised provisions for heritage items that enable a little bit more flexibility than non-heritage listed items, the requirement to comply with the accessibility requirements, depending on what kind of proposed use would be put forward, would still remain. And it becomes a question of the type of use and BCA requirements that kick in based on the proposed use. I suppose there would be some conflict in some situations with respect to what upgrades would be required versus deteriorating from the heritage significance of the building. So it's really a balancing act, and it will be determined on merit.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. I mean, clearly there's the economic side of any questions that have been asked and return on investment. I mean, when you're asking an owner to spend what could well be a considerable amount of money to bring a building up to spec, what you'd be able to rent it for, what return on investment on the money being spent. I mean, these are questions that we're not in a position to answer. Quite a bit of work would have to be undertaken, and really, again, it'll come down to the actual owner, if they're even prepared to go down that path, noting that it's been 15 years and no one's done anything in that nature.
And I just want to point out as well, I think there is a concern that this ultimately is a community facility. Scouts is a community group. I think there was a concern that if the property was for sale, I think originally a couple of years ago, and that's what sort of triggered this process. But and you would think that the Liverpool community paid for this. I guess what happens if it does get sold? Does the money get reinvested back into the community? I think that's into the Liverpool community. I think that's a concern that needs to be considered. I know it's sort of separate to the IHO, but I think it is. There is some relevance there. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, I'd like to add another point to my motion. And we've got a problem which is becoming more and more evident. I note in our reports in the council information that there's over 115 different original heritage items that didn't make it onto the heritage list. I just want to know how many other situations are we going to encounter that we're in this situation. And the point that I'd like to add to the motion to defer and refer the Governance Committee is to also consider how we're going to solve this situation, because I can see it happening again. And there are different actions that council can take in compensation or other measures, and I think it's now that we need to have that discussion. So I'd add an extra point, also consider how we're going to solve similar situations in heritage buildings that haven't been identified and put onto the heritage listing.
Yeah, the Director of Planning has advised me that there is a comprehensive heritage study being undertaken, which will take care of it.
Questions, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, just one moment before you get there. Point 2 of your motion, Deputy Mayor, has to be removed because it kind of is inconsistent with the intent of your motion.
Well, it is. The intent of the motion is to defer it to the governance.
No, your one. I'm saying for the Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Right? So, because number 2 talks about actually continuing the listing. So just procedurally, you happy for that to be removed, Deputy Mayor? Yep. Okay, seconder. Okay, great. Get that number 2 taken out. So, Councillor Rhodes, you formally moved what was your further point to your...
The second point, that during the discussion upon this matter with the Governance Committee, that we discuss ways and means of council being able to address this situation so that we get on top of the fact that we're going to have more buildings out there that haven't made it onto that heritage listing.
Did you describe all that? maybe a little bit in abbreviated fashion, Councillor Rhodes, if you don't
Consider how we're
mind.
going to solve similar situations that haven't been identified as heritage listings that later are suggested that they are.
I'll say just discuss at the governance committees how we prevent this from happening in the future. Is the seconder happy with that? You're the second, Councillor Green.
Look, I try to be happy all the time.
I'll take that as a yes, thank you.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yep, Deputy
Hold
Mayor.
on.
Deputy Mayor,
A question to the CEO through you, Mr. Mayor. Are you able to tell me how many significant and heritage sites we've got within Liverpool local government, and how many, not thousand, not hundred, and handful of people, handful of tourists comes to Liverpool and visit these sites?
Ooh.
Not a thousand, not a hundred, handful of people, of tourists come and visit these significant sites. Can you tell me?
All right. Short answer is no, I can't tell you, nor do I think anyone in this room would.
Anyone can tell me?
Hang on.
Look, I think the Northumberland Street car park's old enough to have a heritage order on it, and many people visit that every single day.
This is a good one, Councillor. Honourable Councillor.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone. So now I think we've had enough discussion on this matter. We will deal with the motion as moved by the Deputy Mayor first, and should that not succeed, then we will move to the foreshadowed motion as moved by Councillor Rhodes. So I'll put the motion as moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Harle. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare the motion lost. We'll now deal with the foreshadowed motion becomes the motion. All those in favour, move Councillor Rhodes, seconded Councillor Green. All those in favour, please raise your hands for deferral. Against? I declare it carried.
Was that unanimous?
If you can't beat them, join them.
I don't know. Was that unanimous?
Was it unanimous? Yeah.
Unanimous? Unanimous. Thank you. Great. Next item is Plan 03.
I move that way as per the recommendation.
Page 61, tab 3 with the recommendation on page 62. Moved Councillor Rhodes, seconded Councillor Amoon. Any discussion?
Yes. Question.
Discussion? Yes, Councillor Harle?
I have a question on this. Considering the significant cost of this study, we're looking at almost $250,000 to do this study. Since this is both local, state and federally significant, have we looked at opportunities of funding this study? And if we haven't, then can we put a deferment on this, subject to obtaining grant funding?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. So, Councillor, what you're asking is, have we looked at sources outside our own budget?
Okay.
Yeah, we can easily add that as an item 3, that we also look at funding sources outside our own budget, including any grant funding, state or federal.
Councillor Green?
Could I ask a question, please? My understanding, and I might be wrong, so for clarification, is that the study is part of the LEP review. So it's coming out of or added to within the scope of the LEP review that is now underway.
Thank you. I'll refer that to the Director of Planning and Compliance.
Thank you for the question through the CEO. The intent is to incorporate it into the LEP review. However, this aspect has not been budgeted for, and therefore we would be asking for additional money to include it.
Great. Any further discussion? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare carried. Is that unanimous?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, does that include the amendment suggested by the CEO?
Still typing it. If we
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Moon is...
I'm happy to repeat it if you need me to. That that council examine any other sources of funding outside of the budget, including any grants from state or federal government.
Okay.
Governments.
So, Councillor Moon not being here, can we change the seconder to Councillor Green, please? And you happy with that point?
She's always happy.
Always happy. That's yes. At least I know what answer I'll get then. She is the
State and federal governments.
Okay. All right. Being a planning matter, we have to have the vote recorded. All those in favour? I declare that unanimous. Councillor Carneeb? Yes, he's in favour. Yep. Thank you. Next item is Plan 04, page 97, tab 4, the recognition on page 97.
Move that way with an amendment.
Move with an amendment.
Councillor McNaught?
I'd just like to add an additional point. I think it's probably under point 7, part 1 is where we need to add it. And I've sent it through. Yes, thank you. So it's on the screen now. All footpath displays must be retained within a perimeter marked by council and be of neat and tidy appearance. The use of shopping trolleys, milk or bread crates is prohibited. The preference is for wooden style display containers. And a second point, that council to receive a further report considering an approval process for regular or temporary display of goods for sale in nearby covered areas along Macquarie Mall. Such displays must comply to this policy and be in return for a fee to council.
Happy to second it.
Great.
So just to clarify, when it says nearby covered areas along the Macquarie Mall, are these in the outdoor dining areas?
Yes,
it's in those
when it
white,
says nearby covered areas along the Macquarie Mall.
So the ones that are not used, those ones outside, there are some that are not the outdoor dining areas, no, but they are similar in structure, that white umbrella type structure with the sides on it.
Yeah. Can we tighten that up? Because the way that I read it would read the outdoor dining areas.
Can you read it out, Councillor?
Councillor Haggerty, you had a... you want to move something or...?
Yeah, under the section use of display, I wanted to add the words at the end for advertising except where it relates to the items on display. So that doesn't make sense.
Can you say that a bit slower, please?
Sorry?
Can you say it a little bit slower? Because I didn't understand.
So there's a section there that says the following things are prohibited under the use of display section. And I think we should add to that section that the outdoor displays shouldn't be used for advertising except where it relates to the items on display. So I can talk to that one. It was in the City of Sydney policy and it doesn't prevent people advertising that they've got, I don't know, cigarettes probably, fruit, veg on sale, but it does stop those containers, I guess, being sold as advertising space for other things that they don't sell. So it was in the City of Sydney policy, thought it made sense, probably should go in our policy. You can advertise whatever you want as long as you're selling it.
Yep. I might just refer to the CEO.
I'm just trying to see the exact wording.
Your Director of Planning would like to say something.
Yeah, no, I'll put on, but I think we should have the exact wording before we comment. So that the amendment be made, I just want to make sure the wording's right, that the amendment be made to the use of display section and that the word be advertised. That's not what you...
Yeah, so the use of display section on page 103, the display is not to be used for, and it's got 2 dots, but I'd like to add a 3rd dot, which is for advertising, except where it relates to the items on display.
All right. Councillor, I've asked the Director of Planning and Compliance just to make sure that the wording is correct. So she's just speaking with the officers now, and then she'll make a comment.
Page 103 in the policy.
Yeah, that's what I...
Yeah, it's that. 12-hour business identifications.
Sure.
They're relating to the business, but not advertising.
Yeah.
So that would stop third-party type advertising.
Yeah, you do.
But to allow business identification
Fine, yep.
signage.
Yeah.
Or not for it to be...
Councillor, if you would allow me, I can do this in a fewer words that might be a bit clearer.
Yep.
So if that could be just typed as I now dictate in lieu of number 4. Don't delete what's there, just start new typing and then later you can delete it. What it is that any display is not to be utilised for, any display will not be utilised for advertising, comma, other than for advertising the goods being displayed for sale.
Yep.
Would Councillor be happy with that?
Yep.
I think that's just a bit neater. So if you remove the number 4 previously typed and this new number 5 becomes 4.
What do you mean by advertising?
So you got the things out the front, and there's fruit and veg in there. You can put on there, come and look at our delicious tomatoes, but you don't want them putting signs up for, you know, Jim's car sales thing down the road, like selling the space off as advertising space.
You don't advertise the goods being sold. You advertise the price, tomatoes, things. Yeah, you just put the price in.
Yeah. So it's just making sure that that's explicit in the policy.
But the footpath can't be used by somebody else to advertise sales of goods elsewhere, is what the council.
So just another, Mr. Mayor, just another question in regard of the shopkeepers. I believe they should apply for the council to get permission to advertise or to, you know, to place their product on the footpath, isn't it?
I'll refer that to the CEO.
Council, the purpose of this is currently displays are occurring. Currently, they're occurring in areas well beyond where they should be occurring. Boxes are being littered well over. Trolleys are being littered well over. The purpose of this is to now put it in a restricted, appropriate manner within a defined area outside their shop. So what we're saying to them is, as long as you keep within your area, that'll be fine. You extend outside that area as defined in the paper before you, as defined on the sketches, you will be fined for breaching this code. That's what it's about.
So in this case, they are not required by the shopkeepers. So what about giving the rules and regulation to all shopkeepers? This is the rules, this is the regulation, this is what you have to do. If you are in a breach of the rules, you know what I mean?
I think that's the intent of this policy, Deputy Mayor.
You can, just a minute, you can, like within the restricted area, 900 mil or 1 meter, this is fine. But he doesn't know what is the rules and regulation.
They will be notified of it. Mr. Deputy Mayor, what's occurring now is it's happening now. But it's happening in a very ad hoc fashion. It's happening in a way that it is breaching our current codes. What we're doing now is we're clearly defining those codes. We're clearly we will clearly communicate that to the shop owners. But if they want to continue to breach it, they'll be made well aware that action will be taken. This is no different than the situation we have with outdoor seating for restaurants. So we're trying to now streamline it in a codified way. It's a much better approach than what currently exists.
I think
we'll wait and see.
Can I just make a point as to Councillor Caliander's question earlier? When we receive that report back about using those outdoor undercover areas, if we can also have an explanation of how the outdoor seating works at the moment so that we don't conflict those two areas, please.
Yep. Great. Councillor Caliander, did you have something to say? Your mic's on. Councillor Caliander?
Sorry?
Your mic's on, did you?
Oh.
No? Councillor Hale?
Yes. Sorry, I would just like to ask a question of Councillor McNaught.
Yeah, through the chair.
You have, through the chair, the preference is for wooden style display containers. You've got that there. That would limit it somewhat. Could I suggest that appropriate purpose-built displays to get rid of the egg crates and things like that they're talking about? Because some of the angled displays are not made out of wood, they're made out of plastic, but they're appropriately built. So if you say wooden, you're sort of limiting it.
The intention is to get that uniformity. Open. Yeah, I'm open to suggestion if that's
if you want to remove the word wooden, you could put uniformity and
Purpose built.
yeah. By council. Ultimately, if you're applying like your for outdoor dining, there's an approval process, and this policy is going to
Okay,
put the little.
then let's just put remove the word wooden, and put yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's a bit better. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. All right. If no further discussion, I will put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare that unanimous. Next item is Plan 05-108, with recommendation page 108. I'd like to just move that we receive the report, the recommendation with a point onto it. The council express its significant dissatisfaction with the DA 18221 being granted an extra height, and this is in Moorebank, and we all know the issues that happen in Moorebank, being granted a, what was the percentage? Sorry, wrong DA, 22121, a 14.4% variation in height, which is an extra 2.6 meters, even though it may be for a lift, so.
Happy to second it.
Yep.
We need to get the wording, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Council express its extreme dissatisfaction. Extreme. They should be able to put their lifts under the height limit, especially in the sensitive area that is that area. And my question to you, Mr. CEO, I noticed that in the page 111, it mentions the zoning of the land, R1 general residential and SP2 infrastructure. I just wonder if you can provide some clarification, because I don't think that was existed in those maps in that area.
Thank you. I'll refer it to the Director of Planning and Compliance.
Thank you. Through the CEO, it appears that the zoning listed here may have been by way of error. The site's wholly within the residential R4, so it's an incorrect zoning, basically, probably based on a previous item in one of the growth areas.
Yeah. Can you just are you able to provide any clarification on why that was why that extra height limit was supported? I'm just once again I'm just bearing in mind that council strategically went through a very long process in amending the zoning within the Moorebank area to better reflect what the community prefers, and you know, it's a significant height increase. I just want to say, like, what was it about and why, and how do we prevent this from happening in the future?
Through the CEO, so the clause 4.6 provisions allow for consideration of development standard variations. It's common practice that we support height variations to allow lift overruns to encroach the height. That's predominantly because the lift overruns will only be for a small part of that building envelope, typically centralised on the top of the building. So the impacts to the amenity of the locality are negligible. And because of these justifications, we typically have allowed those partial encroachments of height for that purpose.
And so, if council, could we then could we adopt a policy that we don't support them on that basis? So when it is being assessed, to the CEO?
Yes, again to the
Yep, through the
Director of
CEO.
Planning and Appliance.
A policy cannot supersede the provisions within the LEP. What I would say is each 4.6 variation would be assessed and considered on its merits, and all residential flat building developments will need to be reported either to the local or regional planning panel.
Now, okay, yep, fair enough. Now, with regards to the 4.6 variation, wasn't there something that said that if there's anything that was more than 10% variation from the provisions in the LEP, that it should be dealt with as a planning proposal?
Through the CEO, it's not a policy or a legislative requirement. It's more of a tested sort of rule of thumb to say that in some circumstances, anything more than 10% or anything more than a significant numerical variation should be considered as a planning proposal, but that's only where the outcomes that will be delivered through that variation are quite significant. So there are times where we do consider significant numerical variations if the impacts are not significant.
Oh, fair enough. All right, lovely. Thank you. And sorry, the wording was council expressed its extreme dissatisfaction. Thank you. Oh, sorry, did anybody want to second my motion?
I did.
Oh, you did? Sorry, thank you. My apologies. Second Deputy Mayor. Councillor Harold?
Just to add to your concerns, Mr Mayor, as a member on the Greater Sydney West Planning Panel, we've had quite a few instances where it's not just 10%, it's been a whole floor, plus the overrun for the lifts have come into that. Council has objected to it, but no, they have the power and override it. And the effect in the area is quite significant. You've got one building that has one floor, in other words, 5 floors instead of 4 floors, where all the others have 4. Now, so I agree with your comments. We should make that quite plain to the State Planning Authority. This is just not on.
Yeah. And on that, Councillor Harlow, like if lifts overruns in the CBD, Edmondson Park, where there is height, there's density, we know that the communities, it's a new community that's being built, but we know the challenges in Moorebank, and that's why council in the last time when you were around, you lowered the zoning around it, which made a lot of sense. This is interfacing with an 8.5 metre height limit across the road. So, it's, I'm sure if somebody wanted to build a house or a townhouse, and they went for 9 meters or 9.5 meters, they probably they'd be knocked back. So I think it creates very disproportionate, but I think we need to be strict in Moorebank, and the people need to work within the controls.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor Rhodes?
I wonder if we should be writing to the Department of Planning expressing our extreme disappointment and dissatisfaction on this matter.
The thing is, this is a local planning panel that was approved it. The report would have gone to the local planning panel with a recommendation for staff for approval. So I can't see what the Department of Planning would have had to do anything with it. We can write to them, but but I think this is something that we should discuss at a future time and see where we can do something regarding that.
Can we put it down as an agenda item for the Governance Committee to discuss?
I'm sure our CEO and the Director of Planning would be happy for that to be discussed on that matter. Yeah, we don't have to note it down there. Lovely. All right, there's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare that unanimous. We'll now move to Plan 06. Just make sure. Yep, Plan 06.
I have a motion, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, page 112, recommendation on page 13, Lot 6, Newbridge Road, Moorebank.
I have a motion which should come up on the screen for us all. And I'd like to thank staff for helping.
Sorry, just one moment, Councillor McNaught. I think the CEO, and he'll clarify when he gets back, but I think they would have a conflict on this based on consistency. But even similar to what he's done in the governance committees, so. No, we don't. They don't need to come sit next to me. It's all right. We can have meetings without staff if we want to. All right. I like how they're in space. I'm over the middle. All right. Actually,
Happy to second the motion.
Seconded, Councillor Rhodes.
Happy to.
You want to speak for your motion, Councillor?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, thank you, and thank you so much to staff for working with me on this again and again and again. We discussed this in the briefing session the other day, and this aims to look for, again, a better outcome for the community. This site has been zoned as heavy industrial, as we can see in the motion back in 2015. would really like to see a better use than what is proposed there at the moment, and so by moving to a lesser industrial use may be able to achieve the outcomes that the community and that the council are after. So I'd ask for your support for the community on this.
Question?
Yep. Yes, Councillor.
I assume you've worked with... Okay, was there a reason why... I'm broadly supportive with it, but would it make sense to not just include this as part of the LEP review?
What was your question, sorry?
So mainly point 3, the rezoning, would it not be more, I guess, efficient of staff's time and whatever to just include this rezoning as part of the LEP review?
Yeah, might refer to the CEO, to the Director of Planning.
Thank you. It presents a risk to a timeframe for the principal LEP review. There have been a number of matters that we've considered in terms of incorporating them into the LEP review. However, undertaking a risk assessment, we've determined that there would be a real risk of slowing down that entire process, and that's why the suggestion from a staffing level would be to keep it as a separate planning proposal.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? No? Nobody? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against, Councillor Carneeb? All for it? All unanimous? That's right.
Yes.
Yes, unanimous. All right, declare the motion unanimous. Thank you. I can invite the CEO to please come back in. Councillors, I'm just mindful about just, I wanted to go for a break at 3:45 for a few minutes, but I'm just mindful that we spent a fair bit of time discussing heritage and the IHOs, and we're becoming experts in that matter, that maybe that we deal with the confidential item that's in front of us, and then from there, then we'll go into a recess. So what I'm proposing we do is that we go into confidential to discuss the urgent business that was put forward to us from the CEO, which is book MOU 01. Book 5, and I'm mindful that, I don't like going into confidential if we don't need to, but I think with this one, to even say the address, I think we would have to go into it. So,
Let's go.
I would like to move that we move into confidential.
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, I also have another matter I wanted to discuss in closed session.
Likewise.
Is it?
Huh? Yeah.
Same, yeah.
Okay. It just depends if you want to have a facilities break at the 3:45. Hopefully, anyway, subject to how long this matter goes. Because the last heritage item took us a fair bit of time.
I don't mind, we can go into closed session twice, that doesn't bother me, but if it is...
I think if it's all right if we can do it twice.
Okay, no, that's fine,
Yeah,
that's fine.
just mindful of everyone's needs. This one, and then we'll go for a recess.
Happy to move as per the recommendation.
Okay. So I'd like to move that we move into confidential subject pursuant to the provisions of Section 10A2B(c) of the Local Government Act, because it contains a matter concerning the personal hardship of a resident or ratepayer and information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom council is conducting or propose to conduct council business with. So we'll now move into open session.
Did you want to have that break?
Yep. If we can just move into open session, then we'll go into the break.
All right, so Lena, there is no interim order. Just leave as is. Make sure that Thomas is aware of that.
Great.
Good. Are we ready to go?
All right, great. And I'll move that we move into recess. Oh, 3:58. Okay, so we'll get back at 4:15. Thank you. Resume the meeting. Councillor Calienda. All right, I think she don't mind if we get going, but yeah. Next item is COM 01, page 121, tab 7, about grants and donations, community sponsorship. Moved Councillor
Yeah, move it.
Rhodes, seconded Deputy Mayor. Any discussion?
Sorry, I missed that one. I'll declare a conflict of interest on this one as well. I'll go.
What type of interest? What's the matter?
Pecuniary, non-pecuniary?
I've got an association with one of the organisations that have invited me to events and vice versa. So I will non-pecuniary, less than significant, but I'll leave the room.
You can say, but I think you got to specify like a bit more.
I don't, Councillor, I don't see a problem you staying if you don't enter the debate and don't vote on the debate.
But it's more.
It's not
We
pecuniary.
we had this discussion at our code of conduct training.
Yes, I know.
About our relationship with associations.
Correct. It is also a statement.
But every council's,
in this situation, as long as he doesn't comment in any way or vote in any way.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, and
You should have come to the.
and after this,
conflict of interest.
you need to clarify your one. Sorry, Mrs. CEO, please. Let's wait for Councillor Haggerty to go. All right. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against, I declare it carried. Feel free to come back and join us, Councillor Haggerty. Next item, in just regards to Plan 06. Sorry, and we think we need to just make this a little bit smoother because I think this was declared at the Governance Committee. But CEO, just your conflict that you walked out on.
Oh, yes, again, thank you. Non-pecuniary interest. I have in the past, prior to becoming CEO, had provided some advice to one of the applicants.
Yep. Okay. COM 02, page 132, tab 8, recommendation
I've got
on
a
page
question.
133.
Question.
Question? Anyone moving a motion before the question?
No, I've got to ask the question.
To inform. Yep.
Well, my question is it the same 30 people that we're servicing with the bus shuttle?
I'm sorry, my apologies. Someone from here was SMSing me and I...
Is it the same 30 people who are using the bus service?
Yeah, because if it is the same 30 people, maybe our money's better spent in providing parking or something like that.
Thank you. I'll ask the Director of Community and Lifestyle to respond to that. Craig.
Thank you. Craig Lambeth, my Recreation Manager, has led the process, so he's got the broader details, so I'll pass over to him. Thank you.
Thank you
for the question, and through the CEO.
Sorry, Mr. Lambert, can you mind adjusting the microphone? It's a bit crooked.
We have undertaken some passenger trip analysis so we can estimate the number of visitations, the number of passenger trips. We haven't gone to the extent of trying to identify whether they're individuals. Our snapshot, based on a week though, is we expect that there's about 30 individuals that will use the shuttle buses per week.
Yes, that doesn't answer my question, which was specific, I'm sorry, through the CEO, that if we're providing this for the same 30 people, we should have at least a discussion as to whether there is a better way of addressing this issue. Well, we could defer it to a governance committee. I can put up a motion for that so that we can discuss it and get the further information.
I think I can answer this question.
What's that, sorry?
I'm currently based in the CBD and I have three staff that catch that bus and 2 of them are job sharing. So I imagine there'd be quite a few people job sharing. Some, most people work 2 or 3, well, a fair few people work 2 or 3 days a week now in the office at home. So I think it'd be reasonable to expect that it'd be not just 30 people, but 30, many different people, but collectively
Only
30 over the
trips,
week.
Yeah. I would still like to get that information to be sure.
Can I ask a question as well? So when I'm reading it, it's 30 people in the morning trip and 18 people through the evening trip, and it's a community bus service. And I know that through you, Mr. Mayor, I know that we haven't quite got heaps of detail, and I'm not sure that we need more detail, but can I just ask whether or not, because I know from previous life when I worked at the hospital, a lot of hospital staff actually park at Collymore Park and you see them walking back to the cars at night time. Can we possibly promote this service within the hospital and the area health so that those people are also aware that maybe they want to walk, but there is that alternate service and get a little bit more use for the service if that's not already being done?
I agree. I'm sure that could be taken on notice, but can I ask that somebody move a motion, please, either way?
Can I move the motion as per the book? And can I just also sort of ask a question in terms of...
Seconded, Councillor Green.
One of the key findings shows that there's a lot of, the majority of the users of this shuttle bus are women, and generally, one of the feedback pieces of feedback that I've received more generally about that kind of trip from, say, council through to the outer parts of our CBD is around lighting and perceived community safety, especially for women, and so I think it would be also quite important to look at what the community impacts would be were this not carried forward. Because it's not only about the cost effectiveness of the community shuttle bus service as it exists, but it's also about what's the impact to our community if it doesn't exist.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor. Point 3 of the recommendation does require council over the 2-year period to then come back to give a much broader report outlining the usage of the shuttle bus service for further consideration. That would include who's using it, in the makeup of the use, answer, whether it's the same 30 people. Going back to, we do know for a fact that over 12,800 people used it last year. So in total there were 12,800 now. Whether that's the same 30 people each and every day, which comes to that figure, we don't have that information. I'd have to find a way of how we collect that information other than take the name of every single person in every day and then do a comparison in relation to that. So, that's something that we need to sort of, or have a councillor stand there taking their names and phone. It's something I need to think about, and that's why it's recommendation number 3.
Sorry, can I just have another bite of the cherry per se and just speak to that? What is the purpose of knowing that information? Because there's a lot of data that, is generated and collected and whatever, but what is the actual purpose of knowing whether these are 30 unique trips per day or 30, 30 repeat trips across the period of time? And the reason why I say that is if we are billing ourselves as the third CBD of Sydney as a commercial core that is looking to attract employers and is looking to attract workers, we need to have options for people who, say, park at Collymore and then want to come into the city. This service provides access for particularly female employees, those with disabilities and others who want to access this service. So what is the value of knowing that information?
Councillor, it's a great question, it really is. But to me, the simple answer is this. If I have a service that the same 30 people and only the same 30 people are using it all year, then that is not as vital or as important or necessary as a service that is being used by hundreds and hundreds of different people every year. So it comes down to the simple question, how vital is the service? It would be nice to know the answer, but I don't believe at this stage I can answer that, nor do I believe my manager can answer that. And again, that's why it's a 2-year period, not a 4-month period. It's something that can be examined appropriately, continue the service for 2 years, and then come back to council in 2 years' time with some real metrics, real measurements, real information. We'll have to give some thought how we gather that information. We may even have a survey report sitting there where people can, come online and do a survey that's using. We'll think of that later.
Councillor Green?
Might I suggest that really what we're talking about in that, because I understand from from council advice that the 30 is an assumption.
That's correct.
Right. So the idea, the issue really is about increasing the patronage, and maybe that might be point 4, that we undertake a review or develop a strategy of increasing patronage. And I mean, if it's about women and safety, there are specialist women's services, the health service, students that are attending the universities. There are lots of areas, as well as letting employers know in our area. So we could have a comprehensive promotion strategy, and as it says, it'll come back in early 25, so fingers crossed our patronage will be through the roof.
Yeah.
Councillor, can I suggest that your point 4, put simply, is that council consider a marketing strategy to increase patronage? Full stop.
Yes, so just in terms of that, 2 things. One, I absolutely agree with a point 4 around increasing the promotion of the service whilst we gather that information. But I'd also kind of point out a couple of the statistics that came out of the survey. One is 48% indicated they had never used the service.
Councillor, can you give us the page?
Page 136.
136?
Of the book.
Yes.
So 38% indicated they'd never used the service. 48% had never used the service. 38% indicated they are frequent users of the service, and 23% indicated that they use the service every day or almost every day, and 42% had indicated that they last used the shuttle bus within the 30 days prior to completing the service. So there's a little bit of data there, but I think, more broadly, the value of trying to, within the stats, capturing the value of the service not being there is also incredibly important.
Yeah, it's a start, but you need more defined metrics, if I can use that term.
So look, having considered what everyone is saying here, I think ultimately, to your point, Councillor Caliendo, that third city, if we're going to do this, let's do it right, let's promote it, right? I think I would guess it's a general consensus that we continue on with the service. Having said that, can I recommend that we defer this for a more detailed discussion in the Governance Committee now? And I'll state the reasons why. If we are going to do this, it needs promotion, it needs branding. If you ask me, where is this bus? I kind of see it when I walk out the council building. It's got no branding on it. It doesn't stand out. And I think we need to look at doing that. You then got to look at saying, well, all right, how does this in line with our other strategy? Just doing some quick numbers here. If you're saying we've got 30 people during, correct me if I'm wrong, so around 30 people in the morning, 18 people in the afternoon. There looks like it operates for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. So we're running this, that's what we're running this service as. So if you're doing 30 people over 4 services, then you're talking about, what's that, 7.5 people per bus trip. This bus is a 30-seater plus a whole, it's a big bus.
That's correct.
So the question is, council, do we need a bus this big? Do you look at getting a smaller bus? Do we look at using one of our own buses that council has? Because I know they're sitting there in the depot, and I don't know if from last recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, the usage of those community buses isn't too high. We have a couple of them, but I just wonder whether that could be, we look at there. We talk about the climate emergency and the carbon emissions, running a big bus.
And through the CEO, it's absolutely possible to look at the value of redeploying the community buses. We can redeploy the community buses for this purpose. We can examine, absolutely.
Yeah. So I reckon, look, I think we should really rip this apart in detail and go through it. And I think that on the general basis, there is support for it. But I think in the governance committee would be an appropriate position, or even at some other briefing session. So if councils are happy with that, I'd love to be able to defer this, go through it, and come up with some really good think
Happy
tank.
to second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Wonderful. Would the mover and seconder be happy to defer them for a good detailed brainstorming session with all the collective? It continues on, doesn't stop. Yeah.
Rather than kind of deferring it, why don't we receive a note, support the continuation, and
refer it to the governance committee.
Refer to
Yeah.
the governance committee prior to a further.
But we don't want to enter into a 24-month agreement.
You've got to delete the, you can say continuation until
Yes.
further notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, but you can't say 24 months and governance.
That's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
continue on, but in the meantime, we have
Yeah.
a more detailed discussion about this in governance in preparation for a further report or
So-
strategy to be presented to council.
So effectively, we're continuing. Sorry.
Through the CEO, can I just make some points of clarification? When we brought this to council previously, council asked us to do more of a thorough analysis because at the point of time we were looking at post-COVID recovery, people weren't using it. So we extended the contract. So to allow another extension is against our procurement rules. So we'll have to make a decision within the next. Deferring it would be okay. We'll just make a decision next month. If I could give a bit of context, this community bus was largely a consequence of a staff provision that was allowed when we moved from the old, when the council burnt down from Hoxton Park into Moore Street. What we were seeking to achieve here is not another change for staff and more promotion to the community. Look at that after the move to Civic Place and do another analysis and see whether the effectiveness of it is required. We can have that discussion at the governance meeting, but I think we need to make a decision quite quickly because of the extension that we've already done. Thank you.
So the CEO has just asked me whether you want to be.
Yeah, so is there a possibility that this motion can simply say that we will extend the contract for a period of 3 months, full stop? Then we will, and in that 3 months we've done governance, et cetera, and then we can determine if we're going to extend it for the 2-year period. So we can at least notify the operator we're extending you for 3 months at this stage. Tina?
Thank you. Through the CEO, the current contract hasn't expired, so we don't need to seek another extension. It's just how long, I'm going to get some clarification from my manager around when that final contract is, because we need some time to procure, etc.
So through the CEO, the procurement process would take around about 12 weeks from end to end, I would estimate. The current contract, from recollection, hasn't expired, but has a limited life left on it.
All right. You know when it will expire?
I think November. November.
All right. So effectively,
From
we can defer this for a month. Yeah. Governance committee have that detailed discussion and work out which way we want to go about it. Yeah. Cool. Councillor Howell?
Yeah.
Can council turn off their mics, please?
It's working. At that discussion, I think we should look at another point of view, and that is when we did this several years ago, and I think in 2010, the previous council chamber burnt down and we came up with this plan. So it was really meant for the council staff. That was the number one priority. However, now that Collymore Park obviously is where it is, there's actually 2 bus services, commercial bus services, that run past that. I would suggest that we have a look at how we can use the commercial services, and that way it's not limited to just morning and afternoon. I know there's buses on Elizabeth Drive and there's buses on Hoxton Park Road that divert through Moore Street and can actually cross the highway there. I think we need to look at that, and maybe we could save ourselves a lot of money.
Well, I think even if you had that as to supplement the other hours, because 7:30 to 9 o'clock, you know what I mean? And can I ask why our afternoon departures don't happen from TAFE, Liverpool Hospital, Elizabeth on the first? Just looking at the report on page 134, it doesn't show a time departing from those areas.
Yeah, through the CEO, the timetable and the route has changed over time based on demand. So what you're seeing today is a different route and a different timetable to what it may have been a little while ago. I may add as well that we've examined the possibility of commercial buses as an alternate. The approximate cost, I think from memory, is about $4 per trip. So I've deemed that as cost prohibitive at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through the chair, but we would be able to consider other methods, like is the bus too big? Are we paying more for that bus? And as we said about the CEO emissions and everything like that.
Well, I think there's a fair few options, but I think the general view is we support the service there, and we continue. Councillor Haggerty?
Yes, thank you.
Getting us a grant for electric buses. Thank you.
Firstly, can I suggest everyone make a submission to the bus task force that the state government is currently running? Don't want to preempt anything, but they may be out here in the coming months. Firstly, is the paper mill bus still running?
Can I answer that? It is.
It is? Fantastic. Is there a possibility to subsidise the cost of this bus through a future VPA, as per the paper mill bus?
Through Mr. Mayor, so these are all terrific questions, and more, it's very clear that a government's committee is the way to proceed. We will make sure, my staff are here, we'll make sure that we'll have answers to all of those questions that you're raising at the others. If after this meeting you think of any other questions you'd like to be looked at, please let us know in advance so we don't have to adjourn the government's committee to find those answers for you.
Fantastic. And one more question. Can we confirm that the bus is the same bus that parks on 15th Avenue on the weekend? And if it is, can we ask them not to do that?
You should send the ranger a book.
And that question is also noted and will be answered.
Who pays the fine if it gets fined? Not us.
Maybe that's how we fund it. We fine the company, and then with that revenue, we pay them back to...
All right. So, Councillor Calienda and Green, are you happy that the point 1, 2 and 3 below, receive a note report, supports continuation, further notes, defer to a governance meeting?
I'm happy with that.
Happy with that? Continuing, yep, great. All right, wonderful. So we don't have to, that can be the motion. Forget the first 3 points. I'll put it. All those in favour? Against? Declare it unanimous. Page COM03, page 139, tab 9, Regulation 140. Councillor Rhodes.
Yes, I've got a motion for that. It'll come up onto the screen. I'll move that motion.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor McNaught.
So, Mr. Mayor, the reason...
Mr. Mayor, can I say something? In this
Sorry,
regard?
Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rhodes was speaking.
Just a minute, please. I'm happy to support this motion. If there are no objections to it, please put it for vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, but we can't put motions until there's been an appropriate, Council had their appropriate and democratic right to speak. Councillor Rhodes, would you like to speak for your motion?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Green next.
The reason why...
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rhodes.
The reason why I propose this motion is because of my vast experience at the... I beg your pardon?
Councillor Hager, that's a bit disrespectful.
Yes, my apologies. I apologise. Withdraw.
Thank you. Do you accept the apology?
Yes.
Yes, I accept the apology, as long as he doesn't do it again, ever. Okay, now, the reason I was saying, Councillor Haggerty, is because of my immense experience in dealing with the district forums. I know when they were first conceived and what council had said how they were going to be run. And in my experience, that fell away very, very quickly. And these district forums will work provided that we have certain things in place. And this is a motion which outlines those things that are necessary. I agree, we can do a north-south district forum by amalgamating them. to save council money and also to attract a greater audience to the district forums. We need to tell the constituents that we are doing this, and we need to promote it well and well before that the start date begins. We need to promote the forums a lot better than what we have done in the past. In the past, it wasn't uncommon, for at least the Eastern Forum, for the agenda to go out on the day of the meeting. That doesn't give the constituents a great deal of time. The other thing that was wrong, the agenda was very basic. There was nothing on there except probably one or two items and then general business. The other thing that we did wrong, that we stopped doing, was when we originally conceived these district forums, we had an application for people to submit the questions that they were going to raise at these district forums. And that fell away, sadly. But what it did do was that it, first of all, gave you an attendance as to who was attending. It also stopped the same questions from being raised again and again and again at the district forums. And if they were advertised onto the agenda as having been received and agenda items, that is going to encourage more constituents to come and to participate. I agree that the councillors should be able to specify forums on different issues if they wish, and that form that you have to fill in to make a submission to be addressed in the meeting has to be prominently displayed, and it's got to be said, you've got to fill in one of these forms. You're applying to come to this meeting, and this is the issue that you want to raise. It doesn't mean that there won't be a general business, but I think that if you do this, you'll find that these district forums are much more successful and will address some of the issues that you raised in this report.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Green?
I think it's a point of housekeeping maybe, or a comment if you want to take it as that, but I would appreciate it if we've got a motion like that that's going to come to the floor, if we could have some form of pre-discussion or floating of it so that you're coming prepared to a meeting. I'm getting concerned of, there are instances where you're coming to a meeting and you're getting hit with amendments or proposals or whatever and not having the information to make an informed decision. On the face of it, in saying and listening to Councillor Rhodes, I can see that what her argument has good merit. But I still would have appreciated the opportunity to have read and had a bit of understanding, and if there were questions that I wanted to ask, to be able to do that in the spirit of an open and transparent debate.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Green, and it's a very valid point. Can I encourage councillors pick up the phone and talk to each other? I think it's a very good way, and the few days beforehand, I know Councillor Haggerty.
We had a chat on 2GB.
We had a chat on 2GB and had a chat in person the day before as well. So that was a surprise chat, though. I wasn't aware you were going to be there, but anyway. Yeah.
Question?
Yes, Councillor Haggerty.
Actually, a suggestion. Would the mover of the motion be amenable to, rather than two, have three? And I'm suggesting east, west, rural. And my reason for that is that north, south, it really doesn't make sense. So you're suggesting you want these to be communities of interest, and the people of Voyager Point don't really have much in common with the people of West Hoxton. People of Bryngelly don't really have much in common with the people of Chipping Norton. But if you did it east of the river, west of the river, rural, I think that would more sort of work as a community of interest and probably have more chance of working.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and I do take your point. However, it is envisaged that these forums will move to those different areas and will have different agenda items on them to cover that particular issue, so that during the whole year, they will move from one area to the next and we will hone in on those issues for that particular area, just through the two, north and south. So
just have one.
the North Forum would go to the rural district and would, answer all those issues out there.
So going further, then we really only need one.
What do you mean you only get one?
We only need one district forum. You don't need a north and a south.
Who?
But rather than having a north and a south,
Yes.
you just have one district forum and it travels around the LGA over the year. I don't see the point of a north-south.
Well, you can move an amendment to make it one if you like.
I would like to move an amendment.
Yes.
As per Councillor Rhodes's motion, but amalgamation of current, point 2, change to amalgamation of current district forums into one forum.
And you want to meet only 4 times a year then?
8 times a year. Same outcome.
One forum 8 times a year.
Can I make a comment? And there's not much difference. We're splitting hairs here, I think. But, we know that on polling booths, it's not a big deal, but we are divided into a north and a south ward. We operate under a north and a south ward in our council area. So we will cover all of those areas, but it gives people that community connection to the LGA that they're in and the ward of the LGA. That's my opinion, and so I'd prefer to keep it as north and south.
Yeah. So if I can respond to that one, I think we could all agree that the north and south wards are just an arbitrary line through the middle of the LGA. They don't sort of connect to communities of interest. Chipping Norton has a lot more in common than with Moorebank, which is in a different ward, and I can give you numerous examples. Splitting it into north-south would potentially politicise the forums, and I don't think we want to do that. We want to get the best out of the community. Yes, it's splitting hairs, but it stops the potential for these to be politicised.
And if I may...
And sorry, I'm not finished, but one thing that I will commend this council on is that quite a bit, we don't sort of stick to our wards, and if we get a call from another ward, we'll deal with it. I can tell you in plenty of other councils, it gets very, very territorial, and you have councillors from the same party literally getting into, their lifelong friendships end, and they get into very vicious arguments over...
Ward wars.
Exactly. They get into ward wars, and that's something I don't want to see happen here.
Okay.
All right, sorry, just before you go, through the CO, the Director of Community and Culture has a recommendation.
Thank you. Through the CEO, can I make a suggestion that if you look at point 2 of the initial resolution, if you incorporate that somehow, that will offer a more flexible and adaptable model to what you're seeking. So in addition to the South and North Ward, what we were suggesting is a proposed redesign of the other elements of the forum, where we have mobile officers, where we also have flexible and responsive and meaningful engagement with the community through strategic forums that are aligned to a project or deliverable. So that way we could have something in Cecil Hills or potentially in the Eastern. So the idea would be having more than 8, but they will be responsive to the strategic agenda of council. So if you add a point there, that will take into consideration that additional point.
I thought Councillor Rhodes covered that. Can we scroll down, please?
And may I also add that by having one doesn't address specifically the items that you said was missing if we have 2. You're not achieving anything. The people will identify with the north-south ward. That is something that they will understand, and by moving it around specifically to the different areas, you're addressing those concerns.
I respectfully disagree, and my evidence for that is if you've ever standed on a booth in a council election, most people don't know what ward they're in.
Well, you're allowed to disagree.
Let's
All right.
agree to disagree.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm assuming that you're not, Councillor Rhodes, as the move of the motion, you're not adopting Councillor Haggerty's recommendation?
No.
No. Are you formally moving a amendment, Councillor Haggerty?
I am.
All right. So the amendment being that point 2 be amended just to say that we have one forum.
One forum, 8, and I'll also absorb the point 2 from the previous, the motion in the book.
But everything else the same? Oh no, what are you saying? What's the difference? What else?
So point 2, I'll replace that with point 6. Sorry, can we take out... No, actually take that out, sorry. Apologies. Apologies, people. Doing this on the fly. We'll go back to what we had. And, yep, and can we just take the at the request of councillors bit out? And, yep, from the words at the request of councillors, and replace that with where appropriate.
Okay, do you have a seconder for your amendment? Your amendment lapses? Okay, oh, great. She need deep consideration of it. Seconded by Councillor Calienda. Great. All right. Think we everyone gets this. So if there's no right of reply to the mover, I'll put the amendment first, as moved by Councillor Haggerty. And then if the amendment goes through, then we'll vote on the motion. So there'll be 2 votes, right? So I'll put forward the amendment as moved by Councillor Haggerty. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare the amendment lost. I'll now put forward the motion as moved by Councillor Rhodes. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Against? I declare it carried. We'll now move on to the next item, Corp 01, page 145, tab 146.
Move it.
Move, Deputy Mayor.
Seconded.
Seconded, Councillor Harrell. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Where? It's not in my book. Where? I'll get there. Let's get into this. Next item is Corp 02, page 155, tab 11, recommendation on 155. Councillor Rhodes.
Yes, happy to move Corp 02 with just one amendment, which is to Council determines that the governance committees will convene once a month on the first Tuesday of every month.
Second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
At the moment, it's a third Tuesday.
Right, second.
So just to the CEO, by bringing it forward to the second Tuesday of the month, will that then allow the minutes to go into that month's meetings as per the agenda, rather than have an addendum? Which I think what Councillor Haggerty has as part of his motion as well, his notice of motion later on.
Seconded.
Yep, just clarification.
I believe it would. I'm just looking for confirmation from the Acting Manager, Executive Services.
Jessica?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, great. Okay. Move, Councillor Rhodes, second Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Next item is Corp 03, Warren Serviceway, page 171, tab 12, recommendation.
Moved as per the book.
Move, Councillor McNaught, second Councillor Moon. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Corp 04, page 174, tab 13, recommendation on page 174.
Happy to move that way.
Move, Councillor Rhodes, second Councillor Green. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Next item is Operation 01, page 194, tab 14, page 194, Council Facade.
Sorry. Were we supposed to decide who the delegates were in that previous motion?
We generally say whoever wants to go. There's one person who doesn't want to go. That's usually, I think so. That's how we've generally done it.
Oh, but do we need to formally put that up or no?
Later on, we'll see who will attend and register his name. And together with voting, you've got 2 votes. As a councillor and as...
Yeah, but my memory is in previous years we've actually passed a motion explicitly saying who the delegates were going to be.
It doesn't
I don't
need
care.
to be back until the 15th of September, so we can bring it to the next meeting.
All right. Well, if it's not a
everybody
legal
wants to
motion,
go.
then we
Yeah, we can deal with it next month.
governance.
If everyone can notify the staff accordingly. Yeah, good point. Okay, so back to Operation 01, Council Facade, page 194, tab 14, recommendation on page 194.
Question on this one, and I'm channeling a former councillor here, but for the last few years we've been going around and looking at buildings, working with fire and rescue and slapping orders on private buildings, yet the whole time we had cladding on our buildings. How did we miss this? How did we went around and we working with fire and rescue, we put a whole, and I think it's in confidential, there's a long list of buildings with flammable cladding on there. We've slapped orders on them. Potentially we're taking further compliance action. Yet the whole time we've had this big, beautiful building that we love to promote, which has also had cladding on it. How did we miss our own building?
Thank you. I'll ask the Director of Operations to respond to that.
Unsure about the history. On this one in particular, we were notified in February 2023. The timeline then was a fire engineer was engaged to provide a report in March. Draft report was issued in April. Sample was taken in May. Final report in May. Council approval July. Design and documentation of the change in August. Procurement September. And commencing works in September for a finalisation in December. So 10 months go to woe on notifying of this one. The history, Councillor, I'm unsure of course. I've only been here 7 months.
And what assurances can I get from staff that there are no other council buildings with flammable cladding?
We, through the CEO, we've done the audit of council buildings. Obviously that the obvious anomaly is we're telling people to reclad buildings where we have it ourselves.
So we've audited our buildings. When did that take place?
The audit has been taking place this year, and we've appointed a fire officer through the new facilities branch.
All right, thanks.
Yes, also ask the Director of Planning and Compliance to also respond.
Through the CEO, while we are undertaking an audit of the buildings that have already been identified for auditing, there is always an opportunity for fair trading to put forward any other buildings that come through and are earmarked for investigation. This Carnes Hill was a subsequent site that was earmarked for council to investigate. So while we have commenced auditing of the buildings that have been identified, there might always be an opportunity for something further to be notified to us in future.
But let's not wait to be notified, because in the case of Carnes Hill, you probably got hundreds, if not thousands, of kids, families going into that day in, day out. Surely it wouldn't be too hard to work out which buildings we've built since flammable cladding became a thing, so 2010-ish, and then it'd be pretty easy to tick off which ones wouldn't have cladding and go out and have a look at which ones that do. Let's not wait for it. What I'm saying is let's not wait for it to happen again. Let's undertake an audit. Sure, it wouldn't take much effort, and this one, I don't want to be here in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months when we've got a tragedy that we could have prevented, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Councillor, it's a good point. The work is being undertaken. What the Director was saying is not just are we also doing all of this work, but at the same time, if something comes to our attention from fair trading, we're acting on that as well.
Move the motion as recommended.
Cool. Moved, Councillor Rhodes, seconded, Councillor Moon. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. So Operation 02, That's now being deferred. Yeah, move that be deferred. Seconded, Councillor McNaught. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Operation 03, Aesthetic Asset Management System, page 202, tab 16, 203. I'm happy to move that way.
Sorry, can I move that into confidential?
Yeah, what in particular, why?
Oh, commercially sensitive.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
Yep, I can move that to, you have a seconder? Yeah, seconded, Councillor Caliendo. All right, any discussion? Put the motion, all those in favour? Against, declare it carried. Rule confidential. Committee meetings.
Forum as a whole.
Deputy, move as a whole. Move Deputy
Seconded.
Mayor. Seconded, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion? Put the motion, all those in favour? Against, declare that carried. Questions with notice. Anything arising from the 3 questions of notice? Councillor Haggerty, Caliendo and Haggerty.
Question 1, thank you. And I accept the answer, but there are, I just think potentially there are situations where asphalt footpaths may be.
Can I recommend that you maybe ask Camden Council why they do that? Because it's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure they would have the similar numbers.
Yep.
But I reckon it'd be worthwhile asking.
Yep, and we did it along, I think it was Southern Cross Drive at some point. But yes, happy to look into this further, and I think there's still viable places where this can be done. Thank you.
Cool. And your other one while you're at it, schedule of contracts awarded?
Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Calienda.
Yes, just in relation to the response to question 1, if there was sort of a provision, that didn't quite facilitate the ease of accessing the application, my understanding is that the department was keen to work with applications, even though they may not necessarily have met all of the criteria. And so in terms of subsequent, grant funding or applications of this nature, perhaps it would be worthwhile to contact the department just to see if we can still tap into these resources, despite the fact that we may not necessarily meet, the criteria perfectly.
Sorry, were you seeking an answer to your comment?
I guess, was there an attempt made to kind of contact the department and say, hey, look, we would really benefit from this funding, but we don't meet like this aspect of it. Can you sort of accommodate the rules for us?
Councillor, I'm happy to indicate that I'm having quite a number of discussions with the Department of Planning. Also, I've had discussions with the Minister for Planning, as are other councils, etc., in relation to this area, seeking more and more assistance. And please be assured that I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to call upon you and Councillor Haggerty to assist me in putting as much pressure on them as I can to seek their assistance.
Thank you. Sure, but I guess my overall point is that it's not about pressure or not. It's about, if there are aspects of these things that aren't quite suiting the needs of, Liverpool Council, then it's about asking those questions, and if required, perhaps seeking the support of local representatives in order to get that across the line. So the pressure and the awareness of this as a problem, I don't think is an issue.
I meant the pressure from a positive, not a negative point of view. Think of it more as an advocacy, but can also say this to you. Our issue are senior planners. That's our issue. Our issue is not cadetships. Our issue is not young people coming in. Our issue is senior planners and being able to secure senior planners who can commence work immediately without supervision, etc. That's where our issue lies, and that's the discussion I'm having with the Department of Planning.
Councillor Green.
Could I ask a supplementary question?
Go for it.
Thank you. I noticed on part 2 for the budget on the DAs was 1.8 million. I'm wondering, is there a time frame with the outsourced DAs? Is there a time frame within which the planner has to provide a response to council?
Through the CEO, yes, upon procuring the consultant for a DA or a group of DAs, we have an agreed timeframe, but of course it can sometimes be subject to the quality of information that's received or whether any information is actually required in addition to what they've been given. So subject to those variables, the procurement of the consultant is based on a timeframe.
So, sorry, question. So just to be clear, we knew about these grants and we didn't apply, but we also didn't get in contact.
I'm missing the first part of it.
So we knew there were grants available for cadets, and we had a look at the criteria. I'm trying to summarise this answer, I guess. We knew that there were grants, and we decided not to apply because we didn't think the criteria fit us, and we made no attempt to speak to the department and go, hey, we'd really love $25,000, $50,000, $75,000, but this doesn't sort of fit our needs, but if you tweaked it, it would. We didn't do that?
We had existing students. The grant system was not for existing students. Put simply, we don't require more student to come in. What we require are senior planners. I would love a grant system for senior planners, assistant. That's what we're talking to the department about. It's senior planners. I'm happy for the Director of Planning to add to that.
Yeah, sorry, just before you do, I'll just remind councillors about the difference between operational matters and if you want to have a discussion about HR and workforce management and where that sits as an operational matter, just be mindful of that and where's the appropriate forum to discuss that. I'll refer back over to the CEO.
I just want to put it on record that we continuously lobby the Department of Planning for resources. We've identified to them over various platforms the need for senior planners and the issue around retaining and attracting senior planners and the challenges in the market. And we do that mainly in communicating with their planning delivery unit and also with our regular platform that we've established in partnership with the department around Austral and Leppington, where we discuss an array of issues. So we have communicated to them the need for senior planners over the past few years, really.
And look, I just want to through the CEO commend you and your staff that in the 6 months that you've been here as CEO and with your acting director, now permanent director of planning, that we've gone from around just under 1,000 outstanding development applications, and those development applications were stuck in that sort of, I don't remember last year we were all sitting around 1,000. Then you're still getting the same workload. I think is roughly around the same amount of DAs coming through. Higher, yeah, roughly the same. And now that backlog is sitting at 606. So yeah, it's, I think well done. It's a big improvement. I wish we could have had that last year happen, but thankfully it's now happened and it's great. And look forward to keep on declining. And whatever strategies you've implemented to achieve that, please keep on going. I'm sure everyone here would agree with that, and we'll thank you for that. All right. So that's the questions with notice done. Governance committee. I think we've pretty much dealt with that now, Councillor Haggerty. I think
happy to withdraw.
Pardon?
Happy to withdraw that one.
Yep. So, okay, now we will move to Council Addendum Com 04. Happy to move that way. I'm a second deputy mayor. This is more just grants and sponsorships, another one. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Committee 05. I just before you do that, I've got to refer to the CEO for, there's a slight amendment required.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll ask the Director of Finance
to you, CEO. Yes, what we were asking basically is the first 2 points to just remain as they are, but to add a third one reading endorse the updated councillor access to information and interaction with staff policy. The matter that was discussed at the governance meeting basically did that, but without having that in the motion, we'll have to come back to council to re-endorse that policy. This will do it now.
Yep. So, happy to move, Deputy Mayor is happy to move that way. Seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Rhodes, in discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Okay. So, we have, let's go through these confidential items and see if we need to go into confidential. Let's see what we can do. Conf 01, page 444, tab 25, recommendation on page 45. Once. Move Deputy Mayor, second Councillor Harrell. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Conf 02, page 448, tab 26, page 449. I'd like to move that we defer that till next month. Defer that for next month. Pardon? From my understanding, discussions with staff, is that there has not been any contact with that landowner. However, this week they did meet. So I think in good faith we should allow them, now that the bridge has been established, to allow them to at least discuss, rather than 1 month should not. Hopefully they've progressed in that month's time. Yep. All right. If there's no discussion, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that deferral carried. Next item is Conf 03, page 453, tab 27.
Happy to move that way.
Moved Councillor Rhodes, seconded Councillor Harrell. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Is this the one that you want to move into closed session, Councillor McNaught?
Yes, please. Mr Mayor, I'd like to move it into closed session because it contains information concerning individuals who are not counted.
You don't have to discuss the individual. You can just move that 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, and 6.
I'm happy to move the motion as is.
Okay, well, that's it. Well, let's let it go through. It's moved that it goes into,
I've moved that it goes
discussing confidential. Right. We second it, that it goes into confidential.
Anybody want to second?
Second, Councillor Rhodes. All right, put the motion, so that put the motion that goes in confidential. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. Conf 05, did we need, was there, yep. So Conf 05, page 462, tab 25, I just refer to the CO because I think this would be a slight little alteration to that.
Yes, thank you. I ask the Director of Finance to advise the amendment, please.
Through you, CEO, and the amendment will go up for you to read it, but basically it goes into two parts. One reflects the current recommendation that's in the book in front of you. The second one is to seek exemption from competitive provisions of section 55(3)(1) of the Act on the basis of extenuating circumstances, basically such that it won't give a better result if we go through that competition process by retaining the existing consultants.
Cool. Yep. So, someone happy to move that way?
Yep. Quick question.
Move, Councillor Harrell. Question. Question, just 1 sec. Seconder? Second, Councillor Rhodes. Yep. Question?
Okay, it has the word continuation in it. Did the initial one come to council? I can't remember it coming to council.
No. Not that I'm aware of, no. We had another matter come to council.
I don't think the first one would have needed to. I mean, it's just through normal process.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Yep, any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Conf 06. 1 moment. Any councillors who want to leave? Page 466. Yeah, great. Okay. Moved Councillor Green. Seconded Councillor Harle. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I declare it carried. Please invite the councillors to come back in. Okay, so we have Conf 04. What else did we have? We have, what was it again? Oppo 3. That was it? Conf 06. Conf 06.
We just did it.
We just did it.
We did that. That was the legal report.
Yes, we just did that.
So we haven't done
questions, did you?
I think, well...
Can I ask a question in closed session? And yeah, I'll have to ask it in closed session anyway.
Well, it's finished.
But you'll have to leave again. You get an early mark.
It's something you can just ask the our legal CEO of the legal counsel, Councillor Haggerty. All right. Bear with me for a moment. Where's confidential booklet, please? The other one. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Mr. CEO, can I get some advice? Do I need to read out the motion now that we resolved in closed session?
Yes, you do. And you should do it slowly so that it's clearly articulate.
I may be excused.
Where is the motion? I need it on the screen.
And someone needs to put the motion on the screen.
Oh, good. Thank you, everyone. Council is now back in open session. And while we made the following appointments to the Intermodal Committee, the names as per there. There now being no further business, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you, everyone.